I put my Christmas tree up last week. Who's done it yet? Oh my gosh. Is there anyone in this congregation who's made the decision not to put a tree up this year? Oh my goodness. Brave choice. I would come down and ask you why, but I think I know why after I put mine up last week. Oh, it's a lot, isn't it? Putting up a tree. I did it last Sunday. It was the last day of my holidays. And the day before, Corey hauled all of the decorations out of the garage. And that's always a big deal, or he makes out that it's a great big deal. We have a great big wooden trunk full of decorations. And then we've got two other, big plastic tubs full of decorations as well. It's a lot. And on Sunday, I got up at the crack. I got up at 6 a.m. I thought, I'm going to tackle this. I'm going to get onto it. Now, I know that there are some families here, and I've spoken to some of you, for whom putting up the Christmas tree is a great joy. It's fun, even. There is no fun in our house with putting up the tree. It is a serious, serious business. But it's an important part of our Christmas preparations. Well, John the Baptist was all about preparing for Christmas. He received a message from God and went all around the country, all around the Jordan River, calling people to change their lives, to repent from their sins and receive God's forgiveness. And this is how he describes what would follow that heart work. Prepare for God's arrival. Make the road smooth and straight. Fill in every ditch. Smooth out every bump. Make the crooked road straight. Pave over every rut. Then everyone will see God's salvation. As human beings, we have a tendency to get distracted, don't we? In fact, it's been said that people living in the 21st century suffer from being permanently distracted. Carrying a smartphone around in our pockets will do that to us, won't it? Here's a quote for you. Perhaps the most difficult thing that a human being is called upon to face is long, concentrated thinking. I agree. Those words, they weren't written recently. They were written way back in 1925 by the science fiction writer Hugo Gernsback. And he was trying to write these science fiction novels, but he found that distraction was lurking everywhere. He found it difficult to concentrate. And so because he was an inventor, he invented the isolator, a wooden helmet that eliminated 95% of the noise from the outside world. Fitted with 2 tiny glass windows for eyes and an oxygen tube in case you ever struggle to breathe. And the words at the bottom of that picture say, "Here is the author at work in his private study, aided by the isolator. Outside noises being eliminated, the worker can concentrate with ease on the subject at hand." Perfect Christmas present, hey, for the person who's got everything, an isolator. So being distracted is nothing new. It's nothing new. And God, knowing what human beings are like, sent John the Baptist to make a whole lot of fuss and to get the attention of all these distracted people. A voice like thunder in the desert, eating bugs, wearing camel clothing, dunking people in the water. In the story, he's trying to get our attention. Get ready. Get ready. Prepare the way for the Lord. Make straight paths for him. Our Christmas tree has lights that are already attached. It's amazing. You put the tree together and fluff up all the branches and then just plug it in. Voila, 600 lights. Spectacular. But we didn't always have a tree like that, and I'm guessing that some of you don't have a tree like that either. I'm going to give you some advice this morning. This year, when you take down your tree, have a think about your future self. Don't just bung those things in a box. When you take the lights off the tree, wrap them around some cardboard or the lid of a box, anything. Do it for your future self. I have to be honest, even if you do that, it doesn't guarantee that things will go smoothly last year, but we have to try, don't we? We have to try. Who's dealt with tangled lights this year? Not me. Jocelyn, a few people. You can't put those things on the tree as you pull them out of the box. You could if you wanted to, but it would be a great big clumpy, lumpy mess. It's not going to look good. You have to straighten them out. You have to spend the time down on your hands and knees, weaving the cord in and out, straightening out that tangled mess. And John the Baptist came and said, take your tangled up life, your tangled up, messy life, and sort it out. Straighten it out for him. Straighten it out. Now, this requires honesty, actually. Honesty about what is before us, and it takes time. It can take a lot of time. So last Sunday I was putting up the tree, and I told you I got up at the crack. I got up at 6 a.m. and I finished the thing at 6 p.m. I've already told you it is a serious, serious business in our house. I could have done it quicker, but I wanted it to be right. So I would put on a few decorations and then I would stand back to see the effect. And actually what I did, I worked out, I wanted to look lovely from every vantage point in the room. So I had 4 different vantage points that I would go and check before I put the next batch of decorations on. And there's a special order the decorations go on to. Some people know all about that. You can't put them on willy-nilly. You can't do it in a rush. And sometimes when I stepped back, I would notice that things were not quite right. The balance wasn't there, and I would rearrange. And sometimes when I stepped back, I would notice that something was on there that didn't belong. And I would have to take it off altogether. And it took a lot of time. If we're close in all of the time and tied up in the busy details of our lives, sometimes we don't even notice the mess that we're in. We just keep going, doing things willy-nilly. None of it really making all that much sense. It does us good every now and then just to step back and take it all in. What do you see when you take the time to reflect? I spent 12 hours on my tree. 12 hours. Would it hurt us to spend a few minutes every night before we went to bed to reflect on the condition of our soul? Would it hurt us to spend a few hours being honest with ourselves and with God, getting honest about those areas in our life that are not good? What habits or attitudes, what sins might come to light? Could we spend a day, 12 hours even, stepping back and inviting God to do a deeper work in us? The invitation actually is important. After I had got the tree out of the box and set it all up, and that beautiful moment of plugging the lights in, spectacular, my daughter Madeline came downstairs and said, I've got to go out for a few hours. Don't touch a thing. I'll be back at 1 p.m. and I will help you. I'll help you decorate the tree. I smiled at her, but I didn't reply. And I'm not very proud of this next bit, but let me explain. The last 2 years in a row, Madeline has waited for me to leave the house, put the tree up and decorated the whole thing by herself. And it's looked quite nice, but there were a few things that I would have done differently. So last Sunday, I sat on the couch while Maddie was eating her breakfast, and then she got ready. And as soon as the door closed behind her, I got up and I started decorating the tree, and I didn't stop. And when she came home at 1 p.m, there was this little moment as she came in the front door, but she was quite gracious. And then she gave me some advice on how she thought I could improve the display. And then she went upstairs and I did exactly what I wanted to do. When it comes to our lives, making them straight, untangling all of the mess, we don't have to do it on our own, do we? We want to make it straight for Jesus. We want to make it look good. We want to get it right before he gets here. But he has the most generous offer to us. He comes and he says, I see what needs to happen here. I see what needs to happen in your heart. Don't touch a thing. Don't touch a thing. I'm here. And we'll untangle this mess together. And that's not to say that we don't have to do anything. He'll show us the mess. We need to agree that it's a mess. We need to agree. When he shows us things that are not good, things that are sinful, we need to agree with his version of what is good and what is bad. And when things are bad, we need to repent. That's the message that John the Baptist brought with him. And then there needs to be deep cooperation with him as he works with us to untangle the mess. I've already told you that we have lots of decorations, plenty to cover the whole tree. And you'll see this tree, it's got decorations all around it. And we've got plenty for our tree at home. And I'm going to let you in on a secret. Our tree sits in the corner of the lounge room. And this year, I didn't decorate the back third. Does anyone else do that? I've never done that before. So it sits in the corner, but it's right next to a glass door. And once I'd finished, I went outside to see what it looked like through the glass, and that portion of the tree looked terrible, looked awful, bare, and a bit dim. So on Christmas Day, when the family come over and they're all sitting outside enjoying their food, I'm going to have to make sure that the blind is down so they can't see that bit of the tree. It's not ideal, but it looks spectacular from the front. But John's message calls us to something very different, very different. It wasn't a voice of one crying in the desert saying, make your lives look good from the front. Just sort out the bit that people will see. That wasn't the message that John came to give. No, he said, prepare for God's arrival. Make the road smooth and straight. Fill in every ditch. Fill in every ditch. Smooth out every bump. Make every crooked path straight. Pave out every rut. And then everyone will see God's salvation. When you let Jesus tend to every part of your life, every nook and cranny, then everyone will see God's salvation. This is the very best way that we can get ready for Christmas.